Greetings, everyone. I'm Robert Gumbs, and this is the Concerned Forum. And the truth does matter. Well, friends, it's been a crazy week in a number of ways, and also a sad one. But I feel that it's incumbent upon me to explain something, why I do what I do. I was in the Navy for 11 years. Half that time I spent on aircraft carriers. Europe, the Middle East, and I enjoyed that life. I really did. The 5.5 years I spent in D.C., I was, after I got my code word top secret clearance, I was assigned to the Defense Intelligence Agency, DIA. Now, some of you who have seen this show for a little while now, you've probably heard me talk about this in the past. The work I did at DIA was quite interesting. I was assigned to the White House and the Pentagon with access, which I had to use occasionally, to NSA and CIA and a couple of other agencies. After I left the DC area, I went back to the fleet and I wound up getting stationed in Jacksonville, Florida. And I'm sorry, not a very good place. I was in a fighter squadron. And I love the Navy. I loved it then, I love it now. And there are many times when I think back upon it that I do miss it. What happened, my late wife and myself at that time, we were, like I say, stationed in Jacksonville. And we were in the process of having our son. And I think that what really shook me up was the things that I saw and heard in that squadron. You know, organization, you can have a good organization, but sometimes in the best organizations, you have people who are not really what they should be. That was the case when I was stationed in Jacksonville. And to be quite frank about it, it was a very racist town, very anti-Semitic. And to tell you the truth, that's one of the main reasons why I left the Navy when I did. I was just tired. My wife was pregnant, and she was having a difficult, had a difficult time carrying. And on top of that, as I said, I was in a very hostile environment. And the thing that annoyed me the most, believe it or not, were the what's the proper term now? Because there was like a group, they just hated the idea of female officers. So you had a lot of anti-Semitic jokes, anti-women jokes, very misogynistic atmosphere. And I'm not just talking about, locker room stuff with the guys either. I'm talking about real hurtful. Well, I put it to you like this. You wouldn't want any of those people to be anywhere near your wife or your daughter in a working environment. And the anti-Semitism, I mean, it was, I can't describe it. I've heard Nazis have more respect talking about other groups of people than what I heard in that squadron. And it really sickened me. I wrote a long letter because at the time, my late wife's dad was a big wheel in the Northern Virginia, Alexandria, Virginia branch of the NAACP. And I wrote him about it, and supposedly he passed it on. I don't know whatever happened to that. And something else that I saw that really hurt me. A young black Air Force lieutenant, a pilot, had to stop by our squadron. And what they did to this young man, I think it was, some kind of temporary duty thing. I mean, he was just there for the day. But, some flying business. They put this chap like in a wardroom and kept him there by himself. I mean, they treated the guy like he wasn't there. Nobody would talk to him. None of the other flight officers would talk to him. The fact that he was a fellow officer, it meant absolutely nothing. And it was if they could not bring themselves to recognize a black man with the same type of authority, the same type of knowledge that they themselves had. And I experienced some of that myself when they found out that I was working towards a college degree and that I had already at that time had an associate's and was working on my bachelor's. And that, I don't know, it seemed to make them afraid. And of course, the N-word, that was used frequently to describe me. However, that was always kept below decks, shall we say, down in the maintenance offices. I was upstairs because I was administrative guy, yeoman, in the operations department. Nobody would use that term to my face, but it would get back to me, what was said downstairs, so on and so forth. One time I confronted the person about that, and I get the, oh, well, gee, Bob, somebody's pulling your leg. I would never say such a thing. And, it's how it was. We had it in the office, a Chicano brother, first-class petty officer, great guy, Rodriguez. And I'm shocked because one morning the chief walks in, and he would greet Rodriguez with, hey, good morning, wetback, or hey, bean picker, And I'm looking at Rodriguez, and with Rodriguez, he was a fine, decent man, and he would say, "Don't worry about it, Rob," and I let it roll off my back. And I told him, I said, "You're a better man than I am." And he would move on to this particular senior NCO, to the anti-Semitic garbage. And finally, I just got to the point, because they could see that I didn't find anything that they said when they used those terms. They could see I did not find that crap amusing. And, one morning, I just broke out, and he was going on this anti-Semitic kick, talking about Jews and blah blah blah. And I said, hey, I wonder where I stand, in the estimation, in the eyes of you guys. I mean, hey, I'm black, I'm Roman Catholic, and I spent a lot of my time as a little kid hanging out in the yeshiva university in West Harlem. And you could hear a pin drop after I said that. And it was just a very uncomfortable, un-Navy situation to work in. You would figure that this was 1942 instead of 1988, and that really bothered me. There were some confrontations, and I had to really watch myself because I didn't want to wind up throwing someone out of a window and then being locked up in the brig, with my wife with the big belly, being pregnant and everything. I didn't want to, that would have been that would have been just awful. But when it came time, when I was in Operation Desert Shield, Desert Storm, the way my enlistment was set up, I didn't have to stay for the whole thing, fortunately. And by that time, they had changed commanding officers, and we had a good CEO. He had been the executive officer, and then he became the commanding officer. And suffice it to say that the real flamethrowers, they got rid of them. But I was just, I was just beat out by that time. I was just tired. And I chose to switch over from active duty to the reserves. And to be quite frank about it, even though I know I was going to go into a war, and we lost a few people on the Navy side of the house, but I was still happy to go to war because I knew I wouldn't have to come back to Jacksonville, Florida. And you had Nazis parading around the public schools in Jacksonville. That whole sort of business. And I regretted it. To this very day, I regret it. But at the time, I wasn't going to put up with that nonsense. And I guess that's one of the reasons why when I hear people using terms that attack Hispanic people, especially from Mexico, and when I hear people talking, making anti-Semitic, anti-Jewish comments, it really bothers me. It really gets me angry. Be quite frank, it hurts. Because you will notice usually the same people that degrade Hispanic people and who hate and degrade Jewish people, they feel the same way about blacks and about Asians. And, I've always believed, and I actually saw it in action for myself, people that are not able to keep their personal, don't get me wrong, people. I'm not saying that we're all supposed to be Snow White and perfect and always politically correct. We're human. Where are we now? 2021. It's taken thousands of years for humanity to get to this little bit of decent behavior that we do now, that we're expected, the way we're supposed to carry ourselves now. It's taken thousands of years to develop to the level that we are now. So I don't expect people to be perfect. But when you're in a position of authority, when you're in a position of responsibility, and you cannot keep your own personal biases and bigotries, you can't keep that to yourself when you're on the job, then as far as I'm concerned, you're no damn good. If you're a supervisor, you're a lousy supervisor. Because you can't separate your hang-ups, maybe the nasty cultural things that you were brought up with. You can't put that to the side and, get the job done. I don't see how you could ever trust a person like that. And I noticed that in that squadron I was in. When the new chief came in, when the new skipper took over, there were a lot of things that were found that were totally unsatisfactory. And I'm willing to bet 99 times out of 100, civilian or military, that's the way it always is. You have somebody that displays an open bigotry or openly misogynistic, right? Don't depend on that person to get the job done. Seriously, because if you, like I said, you can't separate your inner feelings, the negative aspects of the culture that you were raised in. If you cannot separate that when you're on the job, oh, please, you really have no business working for anyone, military or civilian. And we saw this in the Trump regime. That's probably one of the most incompetent administrations in American history. They are right up there with Warren G. Harding's group. And Harding was, for all practical intents and purposes, Warren G. Harding was a decent guy. Just like he said himself one time, when all these scandals was breaking open in the 1920s. And he said, listen, it's not my enemies that are kicking my ass. It's my friends, it's my goddamn friends that are killing me. And he was right. And as far as I'm concerned, and I think as far as most honest historians are concerned, Donald Trump and his administration surpasses the incompetence of Warren G. Harding. See? So I think that's something that we have to, that has to be kept in mind when we look at what's going on in America. See? And that's why I feel so strongly about the things that I say. That's one of the main reasons why I do this show. Because Americans, we need to talk to each other. We need to learn the truth. Because I think most people realize that American history, it's a thing where a lot of it has been basically swept under the carpet or hidden away. But it's a funny thing. The truth is there. All you have to do is look for it. One of the great things I enjoyed when I was stationed in D.C. was being able to go to the Library of Congress. You want to talk about slavery? You want to talk about American racism? You want to talk about critical race theory? Go to the Library of Congress. It's all there. I don't know why these people are crying about the CRT, critical race theory. I really don't. Because it's American history. And I'm sorry, but hey, America is a great country. It truly is. And remember, great doesn't necessarily mean good or bad. Great is just what a country is, what a person is, what a man is. Great does not mean perfect. Great does not mean that you've never made mistakes, that you've never done anything that you're ashamed of, you've never said anything to be ashamed of. That is not what great means. So yes, America, it has been a great country. At times, it's been truly great. But unfortunately, just like with people, there's a good side and there's a bad side. And the mistake that we have made in America is that all we keep talking about, or all people want to talk about, is the great things. Yeah, we put mankind on the moon. Yeah, we waged a war against human bondage. It didn't start out that way, right? Lincoln did not wage the Civil War. He waged the war, by the way. He didn't start the Civil War. The South started the Civil War. They were the ones that fired on Fort Sumter. And Lincoln, as chief executive, he had to wage a war to put down a rebellion. But it didn't start, excuse me, that's how it started out, to end the rebellion. But Lincoln himself saw that, listen, we can't go back to what brought us to this cataclysm. That's not intelligent. That wouldn't make that doesn't make any damn sense. And tell you the truth, we were able to keep Europe out of our business because once the Civil War became a war against human bondage, you notice the European nations who have been thinking for their own economic reasons to support the Confederacy, they began to back off. Great Britain, you had a lot, especially of your upper crust, who were quite willing to support the Confederacy, even though Britain had ended slavery in Britain in 1807 and ended it in all their possessions. When was that? I think 1832 or something. So they were still willing, in spite of all that, they were still willing to support the Confederacy, to support the South. But when Lincoln basically made this a war against slavery, that was it. Because they could not, in good conscience, support a slave-holding republic. Therefore, there was no intervention on the part of France, and especially of Great Britain, to help the South. And that's what happened. And see, this needs to be taught in our schools. It needs to be taught that up until 1965, or up until 64, 65, every American was not able to vote. Now, if you were black and you lived in New York or Chicago or Detroit, yeah, you could vote. But if you lived in the South, forget about it. It was damn near impossible up until 64, 65. And that needs to be taught in our schools. And it needs to be taught to our adults. It needs to be taught that Reconstruction actually did work. But what happened, it was working too well. And so the South, before they would allow themselves to be fully taken back into the Union, they said, no, man, you give us one member of the cabinet, and this is the election of 1876. You give us one member of the cabinet, and you pull the troops, occupation troops, out of the South, and let us handle the blacks. And this was the first time that the Republican Party betrayed the newly freed slaves and betrayed your white working class. Remember, Lincoln was a democratic socialist with all practical, in all practical intent. What did he want to do? He wanted to do what? He wanted to build a national railroad. That's what he did. And remember, at the time in this country, we had a regular national railroad system. That was Abraham Lincoln. He wanted people to be able to go to college for free. All those, what the hell do they call them out there? In like Nebraska and Kansas. Land-grant colleges where you didn't pay anything to go to school or you paid next to nothing. And learn about agriculture and science and, modern farming techniques. Yeah, that was Abe Lincoln. Yes, indeed. And one of the things that really bugs me as I see these groups, poor boys, oath keepers, whoever the hell that oath that they're taking is meant for, whatever that's all about. But these guys, what is it now? Every few months they want to go to the Capitol, jump up and down, maybe hang a few people, break some windows, kick in some doors, and they never say explicitly what their beef is. Now, we know that those folks, the beef that they have has many racial connotations. Obviously, I think that thing on the 6th of January, as much as I have studied the repeats, the videos, I think they only had, in that whole crowd, there might have only been 2 black people, okay? And don't tell me that I'm lying, because we stand out in the crowd of white folks. Black folks are going to stand out in the crowd. I mean, I'm not trying to be funny, but that's just a fact of life. And that's why you don't see any there. Because we know that they're upset. Those people there on 6th of January, they're upset. And we know that people of color are one of the main reasons for their upsetness, okay? And, I'm a little tired of that too. Now, I kind of see things from both sides of the fence. On my father's side, we're Caribbean, okay? He was born in what now is the American Virgin Islands. Before that, it had belonged to Denmark. His dad was from the Dominican Republic. That's why everybody my dad and everybody else on his side of the family, they speak Spanish. On the other hand, my mom, and I'm born and raised here in New York. My mom and her people, they're from Virginia. And family lore, from what she taught me as I was growing up, was that we have been in Virginia since about the 1690s. So what really ticks me off and confuses me to a very large extent is the fact that you go to our capital, right? Which, by the way, was built by black folks. And we do know you had one black gentleman that was on the architectural board. Oh God, now I forget the guy's name. I'll think of it later. But we built the damn building. We built that. We built that city, as the song says. The nation's capital, the White House, all that. We built that. So I'm here, my bloodline's here since the 1690s. Everything about the damn government, my people built. just like Chinese Americans. Their forebears were responsible for building the damn railroad out west to a large extent. Okay, when it comes to black folks, Washington, D.C., we built that. And hold on a second here. And like I said, what really ticks me off is you have these groups like the Proud Boys and the Oath Keepers. They go to D.C. and they hop up and down and try to kill people and cause all this ruckus. And it's like, oh, well, these people of color, like we're some kind of problem. Well, hey, man, wait a minute, hold on a second. Like, and problem in such a way, like, oh, well, these outsiders, they're the ones that are causing all the trouble here. Well, how the hell, if I'm here since the 1690s, and Hispanic brethren, you're talking about southwestern United States, this has been going on since the early, 1510, 1520. Who the hell are you calling? Who are you poor boys and you oath keepers? Who the hell are you to talk about who is a foreigner trying to get a handout? See, that's what I don't understand. We've been here longer than your forebears have, in most cases, have been in this damn country. So I really don't get that. You know, I don't understand your logic. Why do you think that you have the right to impugn the integrity of your fellow citizens? You know, just like the way Obama was treated. You know, I love Obama, I love his family, but you know what? I wish to God when he was president, I wish he had taken, figuratively speaking, okay, I wish he had stood up and took the baseball bat to Mitch McConnell and his band of Republican night riders. Because I believe if we had done that, then in his administration, a lot of this crap the country would not be going through now. And I think that the Democratic Party needs to stand up. They need to say that. You know, I think it's the poor boys who like to walk around talking about how they refer to Hispanic people, mud people. I forget if the blacks are the mud people or are we just niggers? Or is it the Hispanics are the mud people? I don't know, I get them mixed up. But anyway, I bet those buzzards don't even know of all the, and see, another thing that really confuses people like that, they don't understand that the Caribbean, Mexico, these are mixed cultures, okay? These are Native American, Spanish, African, and they're all mixed, okay? And poor boys, oath keepers, they're poorly educated when it comes to knowing the history of this country. And they really don't understand. I don't think they get just how ridiculous they sound. And that's why these people, especially in these red states, that want to stop CRT somehow terrifies them. I would say to them that it's people like themselves who are one of the main reasons why Americans come home in body bags. Because we go places around the world supposedly spreading our values, but we don't understand the cultures that we go into. That happened in Korea. That happened in Vietnam. And that happened throughout the Middle East, especially Afghanistan. And I think the main reason is, if you don't know who you are, if you don't know the history of your country, what the hell makes you think that you're going to be capable as a nation of going 3,000, 5,000, 10,000 miles away in somebody else's soup and not make a bloody mess of things? And every time, that's exactly what the hell we have done. And I think a good way to prevent that from happening again, two things. Bring back the draft, number one, or excuse me, make it active again, because the draft ain't gone nowhere. It just, the machine is turned off for right now. It needs to be turned on. Now you could refurbish it and reshape it into some type of national service. But yeah, that's what we need to go back to. I think that's one of the only bad things. And right here, I might be one of the few people that will say that the 60s was a good thing. And one of the only negative things that came out of the 60s, here we go, Capitol. Hang on one second. Because something you're trying to remember and it just bothers you, bugs the hell out of you. Let's see if I get his name here. Benjamin Banneker. That's the gentleman's name. He was the guy that Ben Franklin brought to the commission and gave Major L'Enfant, the French Army engineer who designed the nation's capital, gave him a hand. Now, from what I understand, and it shows you, the more things change, the more they stay the same. They were building the nation's capital, and L'Enfant got into a beef with Congress. And what else could the beef be about but money? And I guess he felt he was getting the shaft financially. So he decided to say, well, look, Congress, it's your capital. You don't want to pay me what you owe me. The hell with you. And he left. He went back to France, and he took the plans with him. And apparently, old Benny, he had like a photographic memory, and he had memorized the whole layout. And so he was able to help build, lay out, this building goes here, that one goes over there. He was able to do all that from memory. And like I say, don't forget the fact that black slaves built the Citadel of Freedom. Now, I know that there are some folks in these state legislatures that they don't want to hear that. That makes them feel funny. But just because something makes you feel funny, that's no reason not to learn about it. And I don't know. Well, somebody says, "Oh, well, if we teach history, if we teach everything that happened, you're trying to give white children a guilt trip." No. No, the purpose of history is to know what happened and to know what mistakes were made so that you don't make them again. That's one of the biggest problems. That's what freaks me out about the United States, my country. We do the same dumb things over and over again until our backs are up against the wall, and we have no choice eventually but to do the right thing. The South is a very good example of that, because unfortunately this white nationalist movement in the Republican Party, it has really, it's across the country now. Don't get me wrong. It's across the country, but its headquarters are in the South. And my question is, hasn't the South bled enough? You've had the Civil War there. Southern boys fell like flies to keep me in bondage. Haven't we had enough of this stupidity? The South has not gained a damn thing. The vast majority of white folks in the South never gained a damn thing economically by keeping the South segregated. Now, everybody has their feelings about Clinton and Al Gore, right? And I'm referring to Bill Clinton and Al Gore. But you know, one thing that those guys were right, they're right about, and they deserve to be respected for. Because somebody had asked them a question, I think just like right before the first term, before Bill and Gore got elected. And it was something to do, if I remember correctly, about race or something like that. And, you know, a lot of politicians, unfortunately, it happens too much in America, but a lot of the politicians sometimes, you know, you ask them a simple, straight question, they go through all kinds of changes trying to talk around the damn issue, trying to talk around the question that was asked of them. But oddly enough, both of them, came straight out on the money. And they said that the greatest disaster that overtook white folks in the South, the working class white folks in the South, was first slavery, black slavery, and then after the Reconstruction, racism and segregation. And he said that literally destroyed the working class white South. And our people didn't realize it. Because when you're holding a race of people down, you're also holding yourself down. And that's common sense, really, when you sit down and think about it. How often, just in general, in life, have you seen people who have literally destroyed themselves because they are so hateful towards a person, so unforgiving and hateful towards a person, that they wind up holding themselves back, destroying their own lives? And see, that's what this movement in the Republican Party is all about. You have elected Republican officials now saying that they don't like the idea of every American being able to vote. See, that's why what is happening in Texas and Florida and these other so-called red states, that's why it is so dangerous. And see, you have more and more white Americans getting woke. And I love using that term woke. I know Bill Maher isn't comfortable with it, all right? But that's the correct term to use, woke. Just like throughout American history, we take the slang term from black folks or from Hispanics. Most of the terms that we use in the Southwest are Hispanic, right? If you want to talk about the land and cowboys and all that kind of stuff, most of those words come from Hispanic folks. When you want to talk about life, music, most of the slang terms come from black folks. You know, hey, what's up, brother? You cool? Yeah, I'm cool. Right? That's part of American language now. Oh, man, hey, that chick was so groovy. Hey, that comes out of quote unquote urban America. Oh, these terms that we use. But for some reason, conservatives, racists, Republicans, the hell with it, I wrap them all in the same package nowadays. For some reason, the term woke scares the hell out of them. It excites them. You know? Who was it? McConnell made a nasty crack directed towards American industry, to corporate America, saying, yeah, corporate America had better not try to shackle us with these woke philosophies. Well, damn, man, woke is slang for just, that's what white folks down south and black folks down south saying for hundreds of years. Woke. Yo, Bubba, you woke yet? Are you awake? What the hell is wrong with being awake? But is it because when we say woke, we mean that you have reached a level where you are awake to what's going on, that you are awake or you have awakened to the various shortcomings of American democracy, of American life. And people from the right, they can't stand that. They can't stand people being awake to the fact that, hey, you're beating up Chinese women in the street. You're attacking Asian Americans in the street. Isn't that an example of racism? Well, yeah, it is. And by me or him or her pointing it out to you, Mr. Right-Winger, we're saying, hey, why don't you wake up, open your eyes, and see what the hell's going on? And quit trying to sweep it under the rug. You know, these are the people that all the time, yeah, America, we're number one. Well, let me ask you something. Now, America's supposedly toughest, biggest, greatest, richest country in recorded history. Now, I'm not going to get into, there was actually great civilizations before Atlantis fell. And all. I'm not going to go there. But I'm saying for average, everyday, regular world history, we're supposed to be the greatest. Okay. Well, if that's the case, why is it that Western Europe has a higher quality of life? And please, don't argue with me on that. I've lived there, okay? That's true, it does. Why do we have more people locked up in America than South Africa did under the apartheid regime. We got more people in jail than communist China and Russia. Why is that? Why is it that if you want to go to college in this country, chances are you're going to have to practice, if you're lucky, you're going to have to starve yourself to death, practically. Why is that? Why is it that a woman who's pregnant is better off carrying her baby to term in some countries in sub-Saharan Africa? Why? I don't get that. Why is it that we spend the most for medical care in the world, but we have the lousiest results? I mean, we got the best. You know, dictators from around the world come to the United States to get fixed. But by and large, it's hell for the average American. People in this country die because they can't afford health care. And I'm waiting for someone to tell me why that is. Why don't, okay, what are we, 3,000 miles across, right, in the United States? What the hell happened to our railroads? You know, why are these things, why is it like this? We've been going for infrastructure for what, the last 5, 6 years now? Every time Obama wanted to do something about the infrastructure, the Republicans, they beat him down. No, we're not doing anything. My God, even if you are not a partisan person, in other words, if you're not a Republican, a Democrat, or you're not into that, but even if you're not, all you got to do is open your eyes and look at these people over here, these people on the right, these Republican people. They don't do anything. They're unwilling to do a damn thing for the country. And yet, people vote, put these clowns in. They can have a president that cavorts with supposedly our biggest competitor on the ideological plane, Russia, and for a while China too. Trump basically, he practically lived in Russia. He wanted to build Putin his huge hotel and give him a special penthouse, all this good stuff. But yet the American people, what the hell did he do for the American people? Show me the figures. Show me the facts and the figures. And that's another thing that is so disagreeable about those people that try to attack our nation's capital. They don't believe in facts. And you cannot run a 21st century technological society without science and facts. How the hell could you support politically a guy that says, I don't give a damn about your kids, but I'm going to send them to a viral pest hole with no protection? And if you try and protect these children with a little mask, I'm going to take away your money. I'm going to hurt your school system because you don't want to take a chance of your children dying. You don't want to take a chance of your kid bringing some kind of illness home. I don't understand it. This is insanity. We have gone beyond politics. When I say that the Republican Party is the threat, not the Taliban. Yeah, want me to repeat that? China, Russia, as much as devilment as they've done with Trump, trying to upset our democracy, the biggest threat that we face is the Republican Party, not the Taliban. Don't tell me about the women who are being mercilessly kept in caves, basically, by the Taliban. Because you have Republican evangelicals that are trying to do the same thing to American women here. So don't let people play games with you. Don't let them jerk you around. Yes, what's happening with women in Afghanistan is tragic. It is wrong. And that's for the international community, the civilized international community to deal with. But I don't want any damn Republican with any crocodile tears who says, well, women should be should be in the home and having more babies. And if we don't win the election, then we should take up arms and kill our fellow citizens. And you're going to tell me about the Taliban? Yeah, we got the Taliban, all right. We have the American Taliban, and it's called the Republican Party. And that's what we have to be concerned about. That is our problem. Look at Florida. I think you got to be crazy if you want to move to Florida now. You got to be out of your freaking mind. The place is a graveyard, soon to be covered over by the Atlantic Ocean. And the Republicans from Florida are the first ones to say, I don't want to see any money spent to deal with climate change. This is the insanity that we have now in the United States. And like I said, this is not political. This is a movement towards insanity. And the American people, they have to wake up. Don't tell me that you are pro-life when you want to snatch the mask off my child's face, the only thing that might be keeping them alive from breathing that crap that's already killed millions across the globe. And then you tell me that you're going to deny the right for a woman to have an abortion after in consultation with her doctor, and she decides that's what's best for her? And you're going to restrict her right because you think that is how you show that you love life? What in the hell kind of insanity is that? And the Republican Party and their right-wing allies, they need to be called out every day. And I want somebody to explain to me why Donald Trump is not in jail as of yet. Why do these congressmen that come from these red states think that they have the right to threaten the American people? Oh, well, if we don't win, then obviously the election was crooked. Don't you believe in your own court system? 59 times, 59 goddamn times Trump took this crap to courts around the country with Democratic judges, independent judges, Republican judges. And they shot him down. In America, that should be it. But oh no. It's crooked. Because people that look like me and live in cities vote. And now you're telling me that if we come out to vote and vote you guys out of office, that you have the right to pick up an M16 and kill people, kidnap governors, hang congresspeople and vice presidents. And then you're going to tell me about your concept of America? I suggest that you sit down and read the Constitution, those of you that are capable of reading. We need people in politics that will work to bring sanity to this nation, to bring some type of cohesiveness to this nation. And one last point I want to make, the idea about freedom. Well, freedom is if I'm a woman and I consult with my doctor and we both say, well, yeah, maybe carrying to full term, it might not be in your best interest. That's freedom. That's a decision that I'm making based on my freedom. But when you tell me that you have a right to come around out in public knowing full well that you might have a disease, and you think that you have the right to spread that disease without any type of precautions, without getting properly vaccinated or wearing a mask to protect people, that's not freedom. That's selfishness, stupidity, and insanity. And legally, you are dead wrong, because the state does have the right to protect its citizens. And if you are the one that is carrying or potentially carrying a disease, yeah, we have a right to protect ourselves from you. Again, I think that people need to grow up. If you went to public school in this country and you are below the age of 75, I believe probably 75, you've been vaccinated. If you've ever been in the military, you have been vaccinated. Hell, in Valley Forge, what was that, 76, 77? George Washington demanded that all the troops be vaccinated against smallpox. So why is this such a problem now? Well, because certain people have felt that they could get political advantage, especially with white people, to turn this into some kind of racial, nationalistic tug of war. But see, you're killing, and I would say this to the right wing, you are slaughtering your own followers. And fortunately, the majority of white folks in this country are good, decent people, and they are sane. That doesn't mean that they always make the right decisions all the time. No one does. But generally, they are decent, common sense people. And they're starting to see just what the hell's been going on with the right wing and the Republican Party. And I'm glad to see that they don't like it. And I don't like being threatened. I don't like being told, yeah, if you live in the city and you vote contrary to the way I think you should vote, we're going to kill you. That doesn't work. And just like that minority leader in the House right now, he needs to be jailed. Because, and this is also for Bill Maher, a crime was committed on January 6th. The committee investigating that crime has every right to call for, subpoena these phone companies to find out just what the hell happened. We do it for murders. We do it for every other crime. And we should damn sure the people, the government, should have the ability to do the same thing when a crime against all of us has been committed. And Brother Bill Maher, I'll be glad to come on your show any day of the week and discuss that matter with you. Listen, folks, take care of yourselves. Do the things that you're supposed to do to take care of the health of you and yours and your friends and neighbors. And I thank you so much for bringing me into your home. And I look forward to seeing you folks next week here at the Concern Forum. God bless and take care. Peace. And stay woke.